Let's talk about safety and then the cleanup process in the ceramic studio. So your lesson objectives are to identify possible health concerns when working with clay and what you can do to stay safe, and also to explain the importance of following procedures for cleaning up appropriately and efficiently in the ceramic studio. So why do we need to minimize clay dust? So clay creates dust. That's not good because the inhalation of dust of any clay or glaze materials is dangerous for our lungs. So don't disturb the dust. What is the main health concern when working with clay? It's that dry clay dust. It's the biggest health concern or threat to us. That dry clay produces dust that contains silica. Silica is harmful to breathe in. Silica comes from silicone. It's a building material. We find it in rocks, marble, sandstone. It's used in lots of different construction materials. And if we keep breathing in this silica over time, like over a course of 10 years or more, you can actually develop chronic silicosis of the lungs. It's a serious health concern. Now, you are okay. The amount of time you're working with the clay, you'll be fine. But for me, your teacher, I am the most in danger of developing this chronic health issue with my lungs. I want to stay safe. I want you to stay safe. So this is why we need to clean up properly. So in terms of clay in the classroom, where does that clay dust come from? Well, if we drop clay scraps on the floor, they dry out, we step on it, it turns to dust, it's pulverized, and it's brushed into the air, and we breathe it in. That's where that clay dust really comes from and how it gets spread around. Especially if we're taking bone dry clay and we're sanding it, that's not good because that sanded dust can also be breathed in. Again, it's that silica which is dangerous. So what's the best way to minimize the spread and exposure of clay dust? Maintaining a clean workspace. Using wet sponges, wet paper towels when we're cleaning up. We always do a second pass as well to pick up any residue. So how do you protect yourself and others? Well, we don't want to have any dry clay out. That's why we want to keep our clay moist when we're working with it. We want to clean all tools with a damp sponge. That's why we have water bottles and sponges next to the sinks. We don't want to brush clay to the ground when we're cleaning up. If we have to, we can scoot it onto our hands and then put that in the trash. Always wash your hands after working with the clay, and do not eat while working with clay because you don't want to end up ingesting any of that dust. And do not blow clay dust off your desk, such as this. If I see you doing this, I'm going to have a big issue and a big conversation with you because that is not okay. Blowing the dust off the table or clapping your hands and you can see all the dust flying around, that is super not safe. All right, so what's the cleanup process in the ceramic studio, right? It's cleanup time, right? It's time to clean up. What do we do? So during cleanup time, you are responsible for cleaning all tools and equipment that you've used, including the tools in your pottery toolkit. We need to return all the tools to the proper places. So if you borrowed something, please return it. We need to clean up and wipe off your workspace. Properly put away and store your artwork and your tools. And doing all of this helps maintain a safe work environment. If you fail to clean up properly, I'll be sad and disappointed. We don't want that to happen. You may lose studio habit points because, hello, you're not taking care of the studio. I might have to call home and have a conversation of what's going on and why you're having trouble cleaning up. And then, I might make you clean up something that you really don't want to clean up. So what should I do first, right? What do I do first? There's a lot going on. So I suggest collecting all the pottery tools, including slip brushes, and washing them in the sink. We want to make sure all the clay residue goes inside those gray tubs. We don't want the clay going down the sink. And we need to return any borrowed tools. We don't want clay going down the sink because over time that can clog the sink. We don't want to clog the pipes. So there's our tools. Look, you can see, there's clay, right? We can easily clean that off. You can take care of that. It's just clay. So if you're rinsing off your tools and your hands, the water should end up in here because what happens is over time, the clay settles to the bottom of the bins, and then in the morning I rinse out some of that water and toss out that clay. So there we are, cleaning off the tools. Now, Miss J, I have extra bits of clay on my table. What do I need to do with it? So you can save this clay in your plastic bag, or you can add it to the slip containers. What should I do with my clay, right? The clay you've been working with. I would cover your artwork with a plastic bag. We don't want your project to dry out, and store your work in your shelf. Your extra clay should be saved by you. Please do not give me your extra clay. If you keep doing that, you will eventually not have any clay to work with. Also, I do suggest checking your bag for holes, because sometimes that's how projects dry out. There's some holes in the bags, and then air's getting to your artwork. So that's a great image where you have an artwork on a bat and it's covered with a plastic bag. We have a bag here of your recycled clay, so you can use that for the next class period. And so you're like, Miss J, what am I supposed to do with my slab mat? Right? What do I do? So remove any extra clay bits into the trash, stack them in the proper location. Or, Miss J, my slab mat has some wet clay on it. What do I do? You can take it to the trash can, scrape off the clay. You can definitely be responsible for that. Now, we got to clean the tables. If you all help each other clean the tables, this goes so much faster. So we're going to remove any clay and spray the table with water, and or use a damp sponge to wipe the clay dust off the table. And it'd be great if you grabbed a yellow chamois or chamois, because if we wipe the table a second time, this helps get rid of more clay dust. And please rinse the sponge over the gray buckets and return it to the tub. There I am cleaning off the table. So the big thing when we clean up is using water to minimize the dust. So what's the last step? Always wash your hands thoroughly after working with the clay. Now you can wash your hands. You should wash your hands in room 12. You can also wash them again in room 11 if you need to. And if your hands feel kind of dry, you can get some lotion. I have lotion in room 12. Often clay makes your hands feel kind of dry. That's just how it is working with clay. So get some lotion. And I do check and monitor to make sure everything's being cleaned up properly. And so if something isn't happening, I will find someone to help me take care of that.